What's up everybody, Justin here from Bloodlines Outdoors. In my last video, I talked all about vanes and how they help steer an arrow from the back. If you haven't seen that video yet, check it out up here. If you've already watched that one, stay tuned because I got a good one for you today. We're talking all about the other end of the arrow, the broadhead. Now people love to geek out over broadheads. You got single bevel versus double bevel. You got 2-blade versus 3-blade versus 4-blade. You got mechanical versus fixed, heavy versus light, vented versus non-vented. There's all kinds of different varieties of broadheads. I got a mess of them. I have 18 different ones I'll be testing today. We're going to do a penetration test, a bleed out test, a deflection test, as well as a few others. Just stay tuned and hope you all like this video. Go ahead and comment down below which one you think is going to do the best, which one you think might be surprising, or which ones that you have that you like that you'd like me to try out in the future. Before I get into the video, I got to give a big shout out to my guys over at Deer Crossing Archery. These are their Silencer Series micro diameter arrows. They sent me a dozen of these for this video. They have ethics inserts, and I got the Q2i vanes with them. These are super durable arrow, because I told them I'm going to abuse these broadheads, so I need something that can take it. So if you want to check out their stuff, I'll have them linked in the description below. Use the code Bloodlines10 for 10% off your first order. I'll also have all the broadheads used today. I'll have all those linked in the description below as well too, so you can check them out for yourself. Hopefully you guys like this video. If you do, please go ahead and like and subscribe below. That really helps the channel and helps me as well. Enjoy the test, guys. Alright, first I have the Afflictor Fixed EXT. There's a 1 1/4 inch cutting diameter. Next is the Afflictor K2. There's a 1 1/8 inch cutting diameter. Slightly flat before these jump off. Next is the Annihilator. It has a 0.91 inch cutting diameter. If that'll focus. This is machined out of one solid piece of metal. Next I have the B3 Destruct. There's a 1 3/16 inch cutting diameter. Next is Crafted Archery Elite, or Crafted Archery Arrow 1. It has a 1 inch cutting diameter. It has a sharper bevel to help it spin faster once it hits the meat. Next is the Day 6 Evo. This has a 1 1/16 cutting diameter. Next is the Montech M3. Also has a 1 1/16 cutting inch diameter. Next is the Iron Will. Also 1 1/16 cutting diameter. Next is the Cayuga with the bleeders installed. With the bleeders, without the bleeders, it's 125 grains. With the bleeders, it makes it right about 140. It's a 1 3/16 cutting diameter. Next up is the Muzzy Trocard Tip. I don't remember what the cutting diameter is on this one. Next is the Oz Cut, or the OZ Cut, however you say it. It has a 1 1/8 inch cutting diameter. Next is the Exodus, QAD Exodus. It has a 1.25 cutting diameter. Next is the Ramcat with a 1 3/8 cutting diameter. Next is the Thorn Crown. I couldn't find what the actual diameter was. It said total surface cut 3.25 inches. But this blade here is 1 inch, so I think it's just a 1 inch cutting diameter if you look straight through. Next is the tooth of the arrow, which is also machined out of one solid piece of metal. This one is a 1 inch cutting diameter. Next is the Trophy Taker Shuttle Shock. It has a 1 1/8 inch cutting diameter. The VPA Double Bevel 3-blade has a 1 1/8 inch cutting diameter. And lastly is the Vantage Point VPA single bevel, limited edition American flag. Also has 1 1/8 inch cutting diameter. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to weigh all the broadheads, check for consistency between the three, and also the accuracy to what's listed on the package. I care more about the consistency between the broadheads than what the actual listed weight is. I don't care if they all weigh 107, as long as they're all close to 107. What I don't want is one weighing 97 and one weighing 107, because that's going to change your point of impact. So we're going to go alphabetically down the line, so let's just jump into it. First off, we have the Afflictor EXT. My scale on, weighs and grains. First one is 102.8. All right, guys, time for the accuracy test. So the biggest issue with accuracy test is human involvement, human error. So I built a hooter shooter. That thing was the most inaccurate, terrible thing I've ever shot. I've seen 4-year-olds shoot better than this thing. It put one in the bullseye, one 8 inches high, and one in the ground. Like, it didn't make sense. So the plan is I'm going to shoot. I'm going to do my best to make good shots, obviously. And to take out any bias or any human error, I'm going to take the best of 3. So if I'm shooting like the Montec M3s, I'll shoot 3 times. If I have a flyer, I'll go pull the flyer out and reshoot it. And I'll do that over and over again until they all feel like clean shots. I will keep the best 3 of each, and so we'll see how they do and see which ones are truly more accurate than the others. All right, guys, next up, we got a penetration test. I have 72 layers of cardboard here. So I've got different dots here that I'm going to be shooting at, roughly, just to make sure I don't stack the arrows on top of each other. It's 72 layers, individual layers of cardboard. I don't think anything's going to go through it. Hopefully it doesn't. If it does, it just wins. It wins. I don't know. So let's get to shooting. Up here to show you which one's the best. Look how beautiful Kentucky is. Like, such an underrated state. It's just gorgeous out here. But the next test is going to be a bleed out test. I'll be shooting through this black line right there. We're going to see how long it takes for the water to get below the black line. It's 2 inches. So we'll see which ones do the best, and yeah, see which ones do the worst. Let's check them out. Next up, we got the sound test. We're using this decibel meter here to see which broadheads are the loudest, which ones are the quietest. I'll be putting it on this super fancy stick, taping that on there. I'll have this, you see the target down there, it's just over 45 yards. I'll have this about 20 yards from me, about 25 yards from the target, so there's a slight delay between the arrow passing it and hitting the target, so we don't get the noises confused. Alright, so for the next test, we're going to do a deflection test. My original plan was to maximize the angle of the board until the arrows started ricocheting off of them. But my board is a little too thick after I did the first couple shots. The broadheads are sticking in them, and I'm not going to be able to get them out unless I cut the plywood open. I have a piece of plywood down here set up at 50 degrees. I'm going to be shooting all the broadheads into that, see if any of them pass through, see if any of them deflect off of it, and we'll give them a score based on the angle that they end up sticking in the plywood. So let's check them out. K2, chipped out there, chipped this whole blade, that blade, this blade, and then I broke the ferrule, broke the screws off trying to pull it out of the wood. It's the only one that broke off. Slick trick. So, this blade, right there, broke off in the wood, but I had another one during the accuracy test right there. There's that blade. I don't know where the other one is, the other half of this one. So I had two slick tricks completely break, at least the blades. The ferrules are fine, but I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with these blades just snapping so easily. Like there's hardly any metal holding them together. Like, if you look, that's it. That's all that holds that together. So it takes nothing for these to break. Maybe they're designed to break off. I'm not real sure, but I don't like that. So these did not perform well. No issue to the crafted. The Annihilator has no damage. Tooth of the arrow, no issues at all. Iron wheel, looks good. No damage on the single bevel. All right guys, finishing up the broadhead testing. Finishing it up with everybody's favorite, the ballistics gel testing. So we're gonna shoot some of the top broadheads so far. I'm gonna shoot them in here, check out the wound channel. For this test, I'm also using Rebecca's bow because I don't want it to penetrate all the way through. So I figure 42 pounds is better than 60 something. So this is the Annihilator. Go right beside that one. It's so cool. Next we'll do day 6. Iron wheel. So these are more subjective. This B3 looks really cool. You can see how it twists. You can see the angle through there. I think that's the B3, right?
Yeah.
I think that one has the best wound channel out of these.
The widest.
6. The widest?
That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah. And then probably what's this one? Is this day 6 or iron wheel? It's day 6. Probably day 6. And then, what's this one here? No, that's day 6. That's iron wheel.
So I know.
Yeah, so B3, iron wheel, day 6. That's tooth of the air. That one definitely got, well, I don't definitely, but definitely got some good penetration. And then probably thorn, and then probably annihilator. Annihilators is just like the smoothest. Like you can see at the end, it kind of has this like explosion. See that?
Out in front of the...
Yeah, out in front of it.
Yeah, the thorns is the least smooth. It looks really rough inside there with all those little bleeders.
Yeah, the thorns. That's a gnarly looking one. So with the crafted, you can see it goes in like at like 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock. And then by the time it gets here, it's at 9 and 3. It's kind of cool. This one is the best. That one is Ramcat. Then probably, then Cayuga. All right, guys, before I pop up the chart showing which broadheads did the best, 1st through 19th, I'm going to explain the chart real quick. I ranked each broadhead from 1st place to 19th place in every challenge we did. The lower the score, the better. So if you came in 1st place, you got 1 point. If you came in last place, you got 19 points. I added all those together through all the tests to see who got the lowest score. It's like golf, the lower score, the better. The higher the score, the worse. So the bottom of the bottom, we'll talk about those first. We'll talk about a few that I would not shoot and why. First off, we're going to talk about the slick trick. Okay, slick trick, I'm going to pop up the chart afterwards, giving each one a score. You're going to see it's not dead last. But I had 2 failures with slick tricks, 2 different blades break, 2 different occasions. One was an accuracy test. One went through the target. Second one came through and just kind of bumped blades with it, snapped in half. The next time we were doing the damage test, same thing, blades just broke in half. For me, that's not acceptable, and I will not be shooting that broadhead. Even though it did the best on the bleed out, I do not trust the structural integrity of that broadhead at all. All right, another one that did not perform very well is the Afflictor K2. It got a lot of damage on the damage test. It bled out extremely slow. Even though I had one of the best hits with that one, it just bled so slow. That didn't make sense to me. It wasn't very consistent. It wasn't very accurate. The K2, the ferrule broke when I was trying to pull it out of the wood. I pulled them all the same. I would try to like get just above the threads with the pliers and kind of wiggle it a little bit. I put it on it, gave it just a little tug, and it just snapped. So could have been a lemon, because the Afflictor EXTs performed very well. They were a good broadhead. Not top 5, but they were a good broadhead. But the K2s, I'm just not impressed with. I will not be shooting those. I will not be carrying those in my quiver this year. Now, I will mention a little bit of an issue I had with one of the 2-blade broadheads, one of the single bevels, Crafted Archery. I'll show you a little video here, just so if you do buy these, you don't have the same issue I do. I was shooting the broadheads, and I went to go retrieve my arrows after the accuracy test, and my broadheads were gone. Like, arrows sticking out the back, broadhead was just gone. I was like, what the heck? And so I thought, I don't know what happened. But they have a real sharp bevel on them, and that's supposed to help the broadhead twist more to create a larger wound channel, which in the Ballistics gel, it did do that. But they were unscrewing from my arrows and flying out in this field behind me. And as of right now, I'm still missing 2 of the 3. So what I ended up doing is taking a little string wax, putting it on the threads, screwed it in, and it didn't budge at all after that. It was very solid. That being said, I lost 2 of them in this field because I didn't know that before. I didn't know that ahead of time. So I contacted Crafted. They told me they'd never had that experience. They talked to their pro staff. no one seemed to have that issue like I did. It could have been the arrow setup I was using. It could be heavier than what was recommended. I don't know. But in case you have that issue, put a little string wax on the threads. I recommend doing that anyways. I didn't for this test because I was constantly screwing and unscrewing broadheads. Put a little string wax on there, screw it on, it should stay firm. Now that being said, let's talk about another single bevel broadhead. The Vantage Point Archery single bevel, 2-blade, special limited USA edition is by far the coolest broadhead I've ever seen. That USA flag on there, awesome. Am I going to hunt with those? No. But I am going to keep those because they look super cool. And as soon as I opened them, I told my wife, I was like, these are like my favorite broadheads I've ever seen. They look so cool. I hope they were going to perform well, but unfortunately they didn't. All right, guys, let's talk about the top 5 broadheads. First off, I'm going to talk about the Ramcat. It was just a good, solid broadhead overall. It wasn't like number 1, number 2 a whole lot, but it wasn't like below 10 very often either. It was just a good, solid choice. I was skeptical of this one, honestly, because these blades are kind of long and lanky, and I did not expect it to do well in the damage test, but exceeded my expectations for sure, and was able to save a place at 5th for this test. 4th place, we got the ever popular Iron Will. Performed excellent, virtually no damage to the damage test, flew great, quiet, consistent, and I would hunt with any of these top 5. I would and probably will hunt with at some point or another to test them on actual animals, because ballistics gel is great, target accuracy is great, but performance on an animal is what really matters. So I'm probably going to try to hunt with all of these a little bit and see which one can really do the best on an animal. Coming in at 3rd place is really surprising to me. I love their releases, but I was a little skeptical, if I'm completely honest, of their broadhead. B3 Destruct. It's kind of a smaller broadhead, and I shoot the releases. I've toured their factory. I've talked to the guys. Excellent people, excellent products, and I should have known going into that they wouldn't make a bad broadhead, but I was skeptical. I was like, I love your releases, but I'm just not sure about this. Well, it came in 3rd place, so pretty daggum good. I would 100% hunt with this broadhead. It had the 2nd best wound channel overall. Flew terrific. These little blades are replaceable. On the damage test, one of these broke, but they're super easy to replace. Just unscrew that little piece, put a new one on. Excellent broadhead. I definitely would hunt with that. Coming in 2nd place is the Annihilator. Now there's lots of controversy over this broadhead because it's a little smaller, but it's got this cupping design, which is supposed to like open the wound channel a little more. Honestly, that was the only thing that hurt this broadhead. If it hadn't been for the wound channel, this would have been number 1 overall. It did not open the wound channel like I was expecting, but it was an excellent penetrator. It was tied for most durable overall with Tooth of the Arrow, which is also an excellent broadhead. But it was just the most accurate flying broadhead I've ever shot. I feel like I could go out and shoot this, not even tuning my bow properly, and it's going to go where I want. That's what I felt like shooting this. That's probably not true, but this broadhead was just incredible to shoot. It just feels very well machined, so I will definitely be taking this to the woods with me as well. Now for the granddaddy of them all, numero uno, number 1, 1st place, we are talking about the Day 6 Evo. This broadhead just performed excellent across the board. It was 1st place a couple different times, top 5 several times. I don't think it ever got out of the top 10. And that's what you need for these tests. You've got to be a top 5 or just consistently in the top. You don't have to be 1st every time, just consistently good. So this is an excellent broadhead. I will definitely be taking this to the woods with me as well. I feel like I can just crush bone with it, as well as the Annihilator and the B3. Excellent broadheads, the Iron Will as well. But for this test, for the Bloodlines Broadhead Challenge, Day 6 is the winner. Now, if I was going to recommend to a new hunter what to buy, I'm probably not going to go recommend Day 6 because they're going to get mad. They spent $90, and then if they're a new hunter, they're probably going to lose some broadheads. So I'd recommend buying a $45 to $55 broadhead, which would be a B3. It's $45. Annihilator's $55. Both excellent heads, more mid-range pricing, mid-range to low-range pricing for broadheads. Excellent deal, excellent value, excellent broadhead. I would definitely check these out. Iron Will, if you want to spend the money. Iron Will is also an excellent broadhead. Ramcat as well. It also flew very well, did excellent. But if you want the best of the best for this test, in my opinion, it was the day 6 Evo. I tried to do this as objective as possible. I tried to keep my opinions out of it. It's not entirely possible. When it came to like the shooting and stuff, I had to be the one to shoot, but day 6 performed the best overall. So I hope y'all enjoyed this test, everybody. I hope you're getting ready for hunting season. If you haven't bought Broadheads yet, feel free to check the links below, order you some. I'll have all these listed. So feel free to comment below, ask me questions about any results or ideas for future projects that you want, or Broadheads that you'd like me to test out in the future. But coming right now, we're coming into deer season, so less reviews and more deer videos will be coming out, hopefully, fingers crossed. So hope you all have a blessed day. Happy hunting, guys.